All right, I would like to welcome all the listeners from the previous show that was on, and I want to wish you all a happy Fourth of July. And so, with that, we want to make sure that we honor our God and our Savior with this broadcast, and we're going to have a great show for you this morning as it relates to making sure we're staying safe and making sure that we're following all the rules of in the letter of the law in order to help preserve life here inside this state and also inside the city of Flint. But we're going to start off with prayer. Minister Vic, if you could be so kind to guide us and lead us into prayer.
Absolutely. Eternal God, thou who looks upon us from time to eternity, we thank you for the many years of our lives. We're grateful for all of the blessings that you have bestowed upon us during these years. And we acknowledge, oh God, that life comes from you and goes back to you. So help us, oh God, to put our trust in you during the living of our daily lives. Help us to be faithful unto you and to commit ourselves to be a blessing to those that you have placed us within the confines of community, and we shall forever give you the praise. For it is in the mighty and the matchless name of Jesus that we pray. Amen.
Amen. Amen. I want to thank you for that, Minister Johnson. So, today is the 4th of July, as I stated. We have a lot of things going on. We still have a pandemic amongst us. I want to talk to our guide through this whole crisis. We want to talk to Dr. Reynolds. Dr. Reynolds, are you on the line? Okay, we're going to skip to Dr. Furholden. We're making sure that we want to get to our individuals. Dr. Furholden, are you available yet?
I'm here, Mayor Neely.
Okay, great. We're on live now with our radio broadcast and also our Facebook family, trying to make sure that we get the best information updated with all the things that's going on currently. Right now in the state of Michigan, we have been seeing, much like the rest of the country, an uptick in pandemic with the COVID-19 virus. And so, we are cautiously waiting to see how this thing plays out. But with the 4th of July amongst us, people are really anxious to get out and out there commingling with one another, especially in the midst of this. And we've been warning people and telling people that we were not through this just yet. And so the governor has slowed down and started to pause all advancement. And actually now the discussion is moving us backwards. So, Doctor, can you tell us where we are and what's going to happen here?
Well, I think, man, Neely, this is predictable, right? What happens is when you have, more opportunities for people to come in contact with one another, you will see a greater likelihood of the virus spreading. Now, we did a whole lot of things right in Michigan. That phase reopening was very slow. It was very thoughtful. And it had built into it the kind of safety net that would have it be that if we saw what we saw, which is a slight uptick now in the number of cases, that we could pause, continue to put in all of the good work that we're doing around testing and other things, and trying to keep people safe, PPE distribution and many of these other things. And then even if needed, we could take a step back. Not going back necessarily a whole phase or a whole stage in the government's plan, but we could just take one step back. This is the whole thing about the phase reopening. If we go a phase up, we open barbershops, hair salons, and other things, and we see a big increase in cases, well, guess what? That's the signal that you got to take a step back. We have to close those things down until we do a better job of containing spread. So I think what we're seeing in Michigan is consistent with what we're seeing all over the country, except we are getting it less than others because we did do it very slow and very methodically.
Right. And so
to replay your message, press 1. To re-record your message, press 2.
That's
to send your message, press pound.
Just all the listeners forget about that.
Press star.
We just got a call message inside the system, but don't worry about that. So, Dr. Furholden, when we talk about...
You press an invalid key. To replay your message, press 1. To re-record your message, press 2. To send your message, press pound.
Let me see.
This is when we
press star.
Right. And so we're just going to try to disregard that one. So, Dr. Furholden, with this now, with the people are...
Invalid password. Please enter your password.
Yep, we're going to try to get rid of that one. Dr. Froehlich,
Invalid password.
Can you
Please enter your password.
just share with us and just ignore that piece? Super spreads.
Please
And
check your password
what does the super
again.
spreads really mean for our community? If it, what is that? And so community members can actually understand what that is. Areas of
super spread can be people, places, or things, right? And so people can be super spreaders because if you're somebody who is exposed or who is positive and comes in contact with a lot of people and you aren't being safe, well, you yourself could infect easily in a day 10, 15, 20, 25 people. And then those people infect however many others they infect. So super spreaders can be people. And you don't even have to be a bad actor to be a super spreader. You just have to not be honoring the protocols. Even if you don't know whether or not you're positive, if people are honoring the protocols that we have in place, that will prevent individuals from becoming super spreaders. Super spreaders as events are where we have events where large numbers of people come together. And it's a lot of times in those events physically impossible to put in the kind of precautions where those events wouldn't potentially cause a big cases. I shared in the past about this golf expo that they had in Detroit, which we're now, this was the first or second week of March, and we're now realizing hundreds and hundreds of cases came out of that one event, that one expo caused hundreds and hundreds of primary coronavirus cases. So anytime we have a lot of people coming together or we have an infected person that's interacting with a lot of people and not honoring the protocols, we run this risk of what we call super spread.
Right. And we're witnessing that now. And they're talking about the mutation of the COVID-19 virus. They're saying now that the COVID-19 virus has possibly mutated and now is more spreadable, right? It can be spreaded easier because of the mutation. Have you heard much about that, or have you been keeping up with that?
It's it's too early to tell anything yet with to make it definitive. But if we think about how other viruses work, like the flu virus, the reason that you don't get a one and done flu vaccine is because the flu virus mutates. And so the flu that you will get next year will look a little bit different from the flu that's circulating and floating around this year. So there's been talk early on that coronavirus, which the flu is in that family, will likely have some similar kind of behavior. And honestly, that's not our right now problem. If we could stop the spread and if people would focus on, one, what do they need from a structural perspective to be safe? And are they doing everything in their own personal capacity to stay safe? Are people masking up? Are they honoring the protocols when they're out? If people have their needs met, look at how many resources we brought to bear to make sure that people stay solvent during this season. But all that is for naught if people won't assume some shared individual responsibility. So that's what I think people need to be focusing on, making sure they have what they need to keep them and their families safe and doing everything they can in their personal power to stop the spread of this virus, protecting themselves from others and others from them.
Right. And this holiday, is proven to be, a place where people have always known to gather and to celebrate the birth of our country, which is still younger than 250 years old. But the governor has stepped back and paused and taken a new look at what's going on. But people will gather this weekend. But we're asking all people that's gathering to observe all the rules and regulations that's been set forth by our governor, and also what the science has come back from the science community, and also our health professionals, as Dr. Froehlich has said, and we'll try to get Dr. Reynolds back on the line here shortly. But also with that, we have State Representative Cynthia Neely on the line talking about some of the proactive activities that's going on currently by the state of Michigan with the governor, and also some post activity to try to make sure if people come into contact with someone that could be asymptomatic or contracts this virus over this holiday weekend, what can be done? Representative Neely, are you there?
I am. Thank you for having me this morning.
What are some of the things that's going on with the governor's or new executive order? And then also, what are some of the post activities that you and her have planned for the city of Flint?
Well, just to reiterate where Dr. Verhoeven has already said that the governor has decided to put everything on pause because our numbers last week did spike to about 500. And again, this week they went up to another 400. So we just got to remember to make sure we mask up and we're doing the things that we need to do in order to continue to have this economy to stay open. So one of the things that we're looking at because of the 4th of July and because of people like to get together in large crowds and different things, we need to start looking ahead and start to maybe look at other ways that we can make sure we protect each other. And one of those things that I've been looking at, and I asked the governor, and she agreed, was to bring testing back. And so we'll be bringing testing back, and that's going to start over at Shiloh Church. And we want to thank Pastor Moore for allowing us to have that over there again. And that date is July the 9th through the 10th. And we also want to thank Pastor Wickerson over at the Word of Life. And he's going to partner with us, and we will be at his church on July 17th through the 18th. So I think it's important that we get this something. They all are free. So I think everyone should maybe try to come out to those sites again at Shiloh, July 9th through the 10th. Word of Life, July 17th through the 18th, because again, it's the 4th of July and we're all going to be with family and friends and big crowds. And so we just want to be proactive and make sure that we get out and get tested and make sure we wasn't affected while we're out and enjoying ourselves during this time of the holiday. So with that, I still want to remind people that I do have the Mask Up campaign that's still going. So it's important that we mask up. That is one of the ways that we can stop the spread. So please mask up this weekend. Please wash your hands. And please remember to stay 6 feet apart.
Right. And now with that, again, I want to thank you for, spearheading the new testing, that's reactivation of the testing with the partnership with the National Guard coming back. Can you give the dates and the locations again of the free testing post 4th of July weekend?
Yes, it will be over at Shiloh Missionary Baptist Church, July the 9th through the 10th. And then it will be at the Word of Life, July 17th and 18th.
Right. And I want to thank you and Governor Gretchen Whitmer for your activism in this area of making sure post this holiday, if anybody has been negatively impacted by this COVID-19 virus and may not know it, this is opportunity for people to get tested free of charge once again. And thank you, State Representative Cynthia Neely, for that. But also with the governor's order, and we're going to shift to our police chief, Phil Hart, right now. With the executive order, the governor has then remodified an order saying that bars, they can no longer have inside activity. So outside activity has only been permitted for a maximum of a crowd of up to 100 people. And so with that, it's made things a little problematic, especially for this 4th of July weekend, with the new executive order from the governor herself saying that in the state of Michigan, crowds of more than 100 has been prohibited throughout the state of Michigan to not allow super spread areas. We saw in the city of Lansing that one restaurant was associated with about 127 new cases of COVID-19 just in that one location. And so so the governor has taken the best advice from the health community and also the scientists as it relates to super spread areas. So that is one of the reasons that she came up with the new executive order saying crowds are not to gather in not in excess of 100 people or more. And so Chief Hart, through this weekend, it's been a little bit difficult to make sure that people observe this. As what have some of the things that you've been doing and for us to make sure people understand the rule?
Well, first of all, good morning, Mayor, and thank you for having me on. We have had numerous gatherings around the city, and what we've been working with our partners, the Michigan State Police, U of M, and the BOT, and we have been going around and speaking to groups, basically asking them, advising them, if you will, of the rule that for safety's sake, not just for them, but for their friends, their family, others gathered. that we need them to keep the gatherings to below 100 and to keep socially distanced. And we've been very fortunate with that. People have been cooperative and working with us. I was on the phone quite a bit yesterday with one group that was organizing, and they actually called me back later to make sure that we knew that there were some people coming and ask us for some assistance in helping them to make sure people knew that we wanted to keep the numbers below the 100, that we had to keep the number below 100. And so, again, we working with our partners and had a fairly successful night at it.
Right. And so, so we want people to observe this. And have you been running into, situations whereby people are upset about what's going on, or have they been understanding thus far? And we're going to continue to ask for people with their patience. But remember, this is an executive order from the state of Michigan, from our governor. This is not something that we're doing unilaterally. The governor has a better contact with the way things are going. So therefore, we have to follow these. These are mandates of law, and this is not us. And so I see Dr. Verhoeven just dropped, and we're going to try to get her back on. But go ahead and elaborate on that a little bit, Chief Hart.
Certainly, yes. Actually, the citizens and those visiting us in Flint have been very cooperative, and I am extremely grateful for that. When we talk to people and explain to them the safety hazards, they're very willing to work with us. And so it's been very positive for us and hopefully for the public. We have had very little instance of anyone pushing back, and usually that's a misunderstanding. And as soon as we explain it to them, they've been cooperative. So thus far, again, like I said, that I have to hand it to the residents of the city of Flint. They are very aware of what's going on, and they're self-policing for most part, making sure that they stay safe.
Yeah, we have to really ask people, because right now it's very warm. We have some very beautiful days here, and I want to, we want to always observe those beautiful days that that God has blessed us with, but also very hot, and it's very dry out there. It's drying out the vegetation that's on the ground, and with fireworks. What goes up must come down, and we wanted to ask people to make sure if they're lighting off fireworks, to make sure you supervise your children, that means parents and guardians, and also to make sure we're good neighbors, that we're going to quit with the fireworks at a respectable time, because we do have seniors and people that are sick in our community, to be observant of being a good neighbor, and making sure when you light off these fireworks that it's in an area that won't catch fire. We don't want to have a celebration turn into something different than that. And so we want to ask you all to be able to be observing of that. And also, I know, Chief, that we have more engagement as far as traffic engagements out there, because we have noticed an uptick in residential speeding and those things. So I don't want people to say that they weren't not forewarned. We have to observe laws, especially in residential areas where we have a lot of children and people traveling to and from their homes. So let's observe the law and not do a lot of speeding or racing, because we know that we've been upticking our enforcement on that. Is that correct, Chief?
That's absolutely correct, sir. Along with Michigan State Police, we've been going to different various locations where we've had past reports of driving, speeding, even reckless driving, and we have been working through those areas since the middle of last week, and we have been doing a lot of educating with people, but we have had to issue some citations as well. We don't like to do it, but we want everyone safe, and the whole idea behind all of this is safety, so that everyone gets to spend holidays with their families. And the same with this, it's easy to get distracted, not see someone step out into the road, and if you're driving too fast, you'd never be able to stop, and hence the reason for the speed limits as they're set. So we're going through these neighborhoods and working proactively to try to reduce any incidents that could happen.
Right, and we want to thank our partners in this, because there's no one law enforcement entity that can do it on their own. To make sure that we have a level of civility in our community. So we want to I personally want to thank, on behalf of the residents of the city of Flint and also our police department, I want to thank the colleges and the college officers, from Mott Community College. I want to thank University of Michigan for both of them for allowing their public safety forces, which are law enforcement officers in the state of Michigan, to be used in the level of helping us secure our city. So I want to thank them. I want to thank the Michigan State Police for also offering a level of help to help make sure that our residents are safe in this community. And those are the only entities that have agreed to be able to help us out in the inner city of the city of Flint. That's Mott Community College, that's University of Michigan Flint, and that's Michigan State Police Officers in collaboration with our city police officers. I forgive that. But also we have Dr. Furholden back on. Dr. Furholden, are you back with us?
I'm back.
Well, I see you. Seem like you might be cooking breakfast. There's a lot of static in the background.
Is it me with the static?
I think it is, but it's okay.
Oh, sorry. I'm gonna get as quiet as possible. I'm not doing anything.
Oh, okay. Well, that's okay. Well, I want to make sure people understand the seriousness of this pandemic, because sometimes people have been questioning. I see on social media, people are questioning whether this is a real pandemic and whether this is real. And I've known at least a dozen people that have perished as a byproduct of this COVID-19 virus, and many have died. More than 50,000 people in the state of Michigan has been impacted in a negative way by this virus. And so can you reiterate to our listeners the seriousness of this virus?
Yeah, and it's unfortunate because so much bad misinformation came out early on. I could see how people could be confused. And so if people aren't trusting of that mainstream media and all the really trust the local experts. I have no skin in the game in this other than I've devoted my life to public health. Dr. Reynolds has devoted his life to public health and to medical care. We keep saying these same messages over and over and over because it is heartbreaking to sit by and watch something that is preventable, something that we can do so much about, and to see people not take it serious. And I don't fault people for that. You know, I understand people have gone stir crazy, but you know, there's something, short of people that die from this virus, and we don't talk about it a lot, which is that there's a fair number of people who survive the virus, but then live with some disability. You know, this is a virus that attacks the lungs. So a lot of people are left with lung scarring, so they have a diminished breathing capacity. We don't know if that's going to be lifelong, if the lungs will heal from that or not. A fair number of people who survive this illness go into kidney failure and become dialysis patients, both during their COVID recovery as well as after COVID. They had problems with kidney functioning. So we're learning about this virus in real time, but it is very real. The case counts that you're seeing are very real. The death counts that you're seeing are very real, and they're increasing. Nationally, we are at about 10 to 15,000 more cases per day than we were at the height of the epidemic in April. So people, this is real. This is not a hype. This is nothing that the government concocted to try to scare us all straight. We are in the midst of a pandemic, and people's lives and their well-being, not just now, but long-term, are what's at stake.
Right. And Minister Vick, you're here, in the faith-based community, we're starting to see churches reactivate in a small way, in a way that they're starting to have drive-through services, or they're starting to drive to the church and then the pastor's outside delivering a message. And so what are you picking up there?
I'm sorry, Mayor. I couldn't hear the last couple of words that you shared.
But no, just the faith-based, and how are they reacting to this? Because now we're starting to see the churches are starting to activate in such a way by having church services in the parking lot. And so, are we moving a little bit too fast, or what would you recommend in that area?
I know that at my church, Ebenezer Ministries, under the leadership of Bishop Yurundi Knox, and I'm part of the leadership. I serve as a pastor at our church as well. But we've been having a series of discussions concerning this pandemic and how we should position ourselves to move forward. We're practicing social distancing, spacing. We're practicing the wearing of masks. We are not back in worship mode as far as a full-blown service is concerned. We're taping our sermon messages. However, tomorrow we do have an outdoor service that is planned, but everyone will be in their cars. Everyone will be wearing masks and things of that nature. We'll be practicing social distancing. So we're serious about following the best practices that relates to that. And I would suggest, and what is happening, I know in certain church circles, that they're doing the same thing that we're doing. So it's incumbent upon us to embrace those best practices, Mayor.
Right. And as we continue to celebrate this holiday, we want to go back to State Representative Cynthia Neely for once again to talk about the free COVID testing with her partnership with the governor and also the National Guard and also a couple of our faith-based organizations here inside the city of Flint to make sure after this holiday, post this holiday, that we don't have any particular problems as it relates to COVID-19, because if a person contracts it, we want to definitely be able to find out, and so we can get them the treatment that's necessary. State Representative Cynthia Neely, can you give those dates out once again, and also tell us what they should be doing with the Mask Up campaign?
Okay, yes, again, free COVID-19 testing will begin. We're going to start it at Shiloh Missionary Baptist Church. We want to thank Pastor Daniel Moore, and that date over at Shiloh is July 9th and the 10th. And then we would go over to the Word of Life, and we want to thank again Pastor George Wickerson, and those dates are July 17th through the 18th. And it's so important that we continue to wear our masks. I've been running this campaign for a while. Mask Up campaign is just another way that we can do to safeguard ourselves, that we stop the spread. So please mask up, please wash your hands, and please remember to stay 6 feet apart. And it's so important, especially if we want to continue to open up our economy and keep moving forward. And right now we're bagging up because of this fight. So we just want to be just really active in making sure we're doing what we need to do to make sure that we can move forward. And one of those ways, again, is to make sure you wear your mask. So please mask up. Thank you.
Thank you for that, State Representative Cynthia Neely, for your actions there. Chief Phil Hart, what should residents be doing through this holiday weekend to remain safe and then to remain organized to be able to have a safe weekend?
Well, sir, I'd have to echo what Representative Neely said, that mask up, keep distance, and again, with the fireworks, be very, very careful. It's very dry out, and if you should see anything going on, please call us immediately. We keep in touch with the fire department. We do not want to have a fire that causes a tragedy over this holiday weekend. So we're just asking everyone to be aware of their surroundings, to help take care of each other, and to give us a call if they need any assistance at all.
Right. And before we go back to our Dr. Verhoeven for our last words, we want to make sure people fill out their census form. It's very important to do so. You know, it takes 10 minutes for the next 10 years of funding. It's very important that we do this because law enforcement, medical care, schools all depend upon this funding that's going to happen for the next 10 years in our community. So make sure you fill out your census form. And Dr. Verhoeven, we give the last word to you for this holiday weekend. Then we go into our Facebook Burst program. But you got 30 seconds there, Dr. Verhoeven. What's the message?
I'm going to reflect the words of Dr. Larry Reynolds. He always says testing isn't a one and done thing. So folks, do take advantage of this partnership that Representative Neely has formed with the governor. Go get tested. But remember, testing is not a one-shot deal. We can keep bringing these resources in, and we want to bring them in so that you can know your status and govern yourself accordingly. But the best thing people can do is to stay safe, take advantage of the free testing, and then take advantage of the multiple testing sites that we have throughout the city for follow-up as they continue to move about. We can collectively overcome this, but we have to do our best, both with the systems and with individual accountability.
With that, I'm going to say I love you, Mom. Stay tuned on the Facebook. We're going to stay around for another 15 minutes on Facebook. But now for WFLT, thank you guys. God bless you guys. Stay safe this holiday weekend. COVID-19 is real. Do your census. All right. God bless you guys. Okay, guys, we're getting ready to engage into our Facebook Burst program. I'm going to try to recover you, Dr. Verhoeven, on the regular line, and then also try to get Dr. Reynolds back. Stand by, Dr. Reynolds. I'll call you right back. and also Dr. Verholden. Minister Vic, I'm going to get you into the regular line. So stand by. I'm going to call you right back.
Oh, okay.
Hello.
Yep, joining you in. Hold on. Dr. Verholden.
Hello.
Hey, I'm going to try to join Dr. Reynolds in. Hold 1 second.
Okay.
Hello.
Dr. Reynolds, we got you back. Hold on.
Okay.
Okay, we can begin. I have all the callers back for the Facebook Burst program. We're going to spend another 15 minutes talking to our Facebook listeners about what is going on. And Dr. Reynolds, we're so sorry that we lost you doing the radio broadcast, but now you're back with us. So, Dr. Reynolds, but we're going to start off with you. And Dr. Verholden gave a good job from the medical's perspective about what's going to happen and about the COVID virus, and that is real. And so now that we see an uptick in Michigan and other states across the country, and many states are starting to really phase back. And I think I even witnessed last night, I think they said they're going to start a curfew in Texas. And that's, I want to say that is in Texas. That is not here in Michigan. But we see other states folding back some of the progress that they have made. So what do you have to say to our listeners about COVID-19 and what we should be doing to safeguard ourselves moving forward?
Well, I'm sure everybody knows by now that the black communities and brown communities are hit twice as hard with the coronavirus. So in other words, if we're 20% of the population, why do we have 40% of the cases? Why do we have 46% of the deaths, which is twice our representation in the population? And what happened is, and I'm sure Dr. Verholden has said, COVID just shone the light on all the inequities in American society for housing, for pre-existing health conditions, for access to care. And so we have been double hurt, and you've heard it before. When America catches a cold, the black community gets pneumonia. And this is a continuing practice. And you also have to look at how we are underrepresented in the health professions and how the health professions have yet to effectively address how people of color are treated when they come to the emergency room. They may be less likely to get a complete workup for a heart attack. They may be, especially sickle cell patients, may be less likely to get appropriate pain medication treatment. So this is a historical process that has been amplified under the coronavirus pandemic.
Right.
So we must.
No, I was going to just say, when you talk about that and the disparities in healthcare and how it's been superly impacting African-American communities or communities of color, when we talk about those inequities, we see a social movement right now in our urban and black communities about the social unrest around law enforcement and the law enforcement engagement, but also we have the disparities in education and also healthcare. But I want to go to Minister Vic here. When we talk about these things, these disparities, are we observing this enough in our own community, right? Do we have in essence, I'm asking about the self-inflicted wounds, because we have to take this virus seriously, and we have to do other things to be able to make sure that our community is healthy internally before we talk about a lot of the external problems. We can do both simultaneously, but historically, Minister Vick, and so I ask you to put on your professor hat to talk about the internal wounds that we face in our own community.
You're certainly, Mayor. The statement or the phrase "Black Lives Matters," in my estimation, is not just a statement that opposes violent actions or police misconduct against Black people, but it checks all inappropriate behavior aimed at Black people, whether, as you just alluded to, internal or external. So from a theological standpoint, in my thinking, the phrase "Black Lives Matter" is akin to the biblical concept of the Imago Dei. And the Imago Dei only means that we as human beings are made in the image and the likeness of God. So the first question that we have to ask ourselves is, how do we treat people, right? Men and women and children who were made in the image of God, right? So therefore, embracing, as we said earlier, best practices per the COVID-19 virus is in line with the concept of the Imago Dei. And certainly we have to take care of the internal first before we can adequately and effectively address the external as well.
Right, and that bleeds off into so many different categories when we talk about issues of the disparities, that we definitely have to make sure that we're doing all that's necessary to be able to advance our communities throughout the state of Michigan, especially in the areas that we have those disparities. And so the civil unrest that we see we should be focusing as well as about fixing the problems that we have internally as well. And Dr. Verholden, I want to go to you because you have a wealth of experience and knowledge about this, because in Maryland, you served on different committees and groups, talking about these levels of disparities, and you see it firsthand as a doctor about the healthcare piece, but also the social unrest piece. Can you speak a little bit to that, Dr. Verholden?
Yeah, well, they all go hand in hand. And I think what we've seen now is we've reached that tipping point in society where people have said enough. For better or for worse, this pandemic has got us all and caught us all at our most vulnerable moment. And I think many of us will never forget that 8 minutes and 46 seconds. And not that what we saw with Brother George Floyd was anything that happens in isolation, but to see it from 3 different angles for 8 minutes and 47 seconds, I think people just said enough. I'm surprised at how many people just saw that the world is unfair, and it's very unfair for Black and brown people. And so this has opened up an opportunity for us to lay everything out on the table. And I know for a fact, because I've been in these circles now, I'm talking to all these different groups, people are astonished when they hear the health disparities that African Americans face. And not only that, the sources of those disparities. And to then learn that it's not just all about us, not all about what we eat or don't eat or how we manage our health or don't manage our health, that we are actually in a system and a structure that by design was not set up for us to win. And so I think that this is the time, and I do encourage people, because a lot of that social activism has been what's been continuing to propel us forward. But I just don't want it to come at the expense of Black lives. If Black lives matter, we need to mask up as we are out doing the work and trying to keep this movement going forward. I do think we can have it all, but we have to be safe. This is the time for us to be fearless, but not to be reckless.
Absolutely with that. And we have tapped you on the shoulder. You and Dr. Reynolds have been no less than fantastic for this community, lending your expertise and your profession and also all of your intellect. But also you sit on the advisory council to the Flint Police Department to be able to engage better ways of policing and making sure that we can do so. And you guys provide some leadership aspects and advice to our police department as this whole body is going to be constructed, the advisory council to our Flint Police Department. And so you and Pastor Jeffrey Hawkins have been the two that's been named that so far as we go forth to fill the rest of the positions in that area. So, Chief Hart, with that, you know, in the spiritual world and in our worship, they say praise is an act of our actions, right? So people can talk a lot of different things and say a lot of things, but you can really look at them and look at their actions to see where they are based upon their actions. And so I want to commend you and under your leadership in the Flint Police Department for actually, you know, taking the necessary steps to create the partnerships and also having a level of humility to be able to have people sitting around the table to provide a level of advice and getting a way of difference in a positive way. And so, Chief Hart, did you want to speak to that a little bit as well?
Yes, sir. Thank you. I appreciate that, sir. And absolutely, the job of the law enforcement is to protect and defend the citizens. And without knowing what everyone is needing and wanting, we can't make wise decisions on how to best protect and defend and serve. So having the groups that are vastly different helps me to obtain all the facts necessary to make the wise and proper decision. No one can make good decisions in a vacuum. And so with the advent of these groups and with our assistance from the doctors and the clergy, we can help, and some of the citizens around the city, we can make some wise decisions that have been needed for a long time and now will be put into effect. We've already made some changes, and I'm looking forward to having more discussion so that we can see where we are deficit, make those changes, and to enforce the areas where we're doing.
And I want to personally thank, on behalf of the residents of the city of Flint, those law enforcement agencies that came here to the city of Flint to help us through our troubled times, not to oppress us, but to assist us and to protect and serving us, all of us. I want to thank, you know, Mott Community College, University of Michigan Flint, for allowing their public safety, their law enforcement officers to help patrol residential areas inside the city of Flint. I want to thank Michigan State police officers for helping and assisting residents to protect and serve us here in this community. They have lent their service, their time, and their tools to be able to help us improve the quality of life in our community. And I want to just thank those entities that came to the table at our request to be able to help us in our community. And that's Mott Community College, University of Michigan Flint, and also Michigan State Police. Those are, when we talk about praise as an act of your actions, those actions by those organizations and institutions has really spoken, right? The absence of any other agencies really speaks to that action as well. And so Chief, I know you have a fantastic job in front of you today, trying to make sure that people have a safe holiday weekend. And so in any words of advice to residents out there as we try to do this in an upstanding and a great way, Chief?
Absolutely, sir. Thank you. Yes, I would like to express that we would really appreciate everyone keeping attention to masking up and social distancing. And please understand, this is not just for you, it's for your family, your friends, the acquaintances that you're with, and also to be very careful with the fireworks. Not only personally can you receive injuries, but if the fireworks, I mean, it's been very hot and dry lately, so the fireworks can take hold and cause a tragedy, and that's the last thing we need when we're celebrating this holiday weekend. And so if there is anything that transpires, someone needs some assistance, please don't hesitate to call us. We're more than happy to come out, and we are looking for any help we can get from the public. No one can do this alone, and even with the assistance of our partners that the mayor has mentioned, the Michigan State Police, University of Michigan Police, and the Mott College Police, we still need our people in their neighborhoods to keep an eye on things for us and notify us if anything should go afoul. And we're more than happy to come out and help and make sure that everyone has a safe, happy holiday weekend.
Right. And I'm going to go to State Representative Cynthia Neely about her Mask Up campaign that she spearheaded, and also the COVID-19 post-holiday testing in those locations and times. And then we'll move to Dr. Reynolds because he was neglected in our first part of our broadcast. So State Representative Cynthia Neely, with the Mask Up campaign, I know you engaged a lot of high school students, and you're engaging people across the state of Michigan and challenging them to mask up. And how's that going? And what is the post activity for testing going on?
The Mask Up campaign is going really well. And I just want to take a pause and thank Dr. Fairholden for teaming up with me with the Mask Up campaign. She was able to expand it even more for us through Michigan State University. And I want to thank her so much for that. And me and the governor just want to say thank you for getting them involved with the Mask Up campaign. We so appreciate that. And as far as the free testing for COVID-19, again, we want to thank our pastors, Pastor Daniel Moore over at Shiloh Missionary Baptist Church. The dates over there at Shiloh is July 9th and the 10th. And we also want to thank Pastor George Wilkinson, Word of Life. And the dates over there are July 17th and 18th. So please come out and be a part of that. And just thank you. And remember to mask up. It's so important that we do that. Mask up, wash your hands, stay 6 feet apart. We're trying to get this thing under control, and only how we can do that if we work together and follow the advice that the healthcare professionals are giving us. So please mask up.
Right.
Thank you.
And Dr. Reynolds, I know we like to talk about this, the best practices, and you do it so well, so often that we have it memorized by heart. And so, but we want to give you some words to educate people right around this time where they really need to be educated, because this pandemic is not over by any means. So, Dr. Reynolds.
Yes, I can only repeat what Representative Neely has said. You must wear your mask. You must avoid large groups. Ideally, if you're having your celebration, keep it around 10 people and keep it to a household. This is a sacrifice that we make for the health of our families, our loved ones, and our community. So avoid crowds, maintain that physical distancing. And I know it's difficult. Many of us have graduated from high school, college, and we're excited and we want to celebrate. But we must be careful. We must be vigilant. And then as far as fireworks go, I have heard them going off since 6 o'clock. Fireworks, which are legal. Do not allow your children to light them. Don't have them use fireworks unsupervised. You can have loss of fingers, eye injuries, burns. You think those sparklers are little innocent things. They burn with such heat, they can burn your child in the blink of an eye. So please have a bucket of water available, have adult supervision, and make sure those adults who are supervising are paying attention and have not consumed too much alcohol.
Right. And so Dr. Fairholden, I saw you almost in the amen corner as Dr. Reynolds went on his preaching, and as he often do. But Dr. Fairholden, go ahead and speak to, specifically to our African American community, because we have a level of civil unrest during a time of a medical crisis in our country, and also internally it's a super medical crisis in the Black and Brown community. What can we tell, how can you speak to them from your professional seat, what we need to do?
Well, this is what we call the double pandemic. One we've been dealing with since the basic dawn of the American society, which is racism. And on top of that, we've now got a biological pandemic that's afoot. And so these two things combined, it really does call for people to bring forward responsibility, for them to bring thoughtfulness. One of the things that I've learned about our millennials, who it's such an interesting group, right? Because they have so much fire in them, and they are just so intolerant of this stuff now. And it's white, black, brown, yellow, all of them, they're up in arms. And at the same time, they want to see those changes happen right this very second. And that's just not how things work, And I remember Ida B. Wells spent her entire life trying to get anti-lynching laws ratified nationally. That woman devoted her whole life to that work, and she died never having seen that actually happen. But they don't know it, but they're standing on the shoulders of the Ida B. Wells. They're standing on the shoulders of people who forfeited their right to see that change happen in their lifetime, but they stood for and fought for what they knew was right and what they knew they believed in. They planted and sowed seeds that we're now starting to see the fruits and the flowers from those seeds. And I think this group of millennials and these young people, the Gen Z behind them, me, the Gen Xers, Dr. Reynolds, the boomers, we all have a part to play in this. But what's important is that we be here alive to do the work and that we be fit for the fight. So we've already figured out how to survive the pandemic of racism. Now we're going to figure out how to undo it and how to create a more fair and equitable society. We know what it takes for us to stay safe during this pandemic and protect and preserve life. So I'm asking everybody to do their part. We have to be alive and fit for the fight. The time is among us right now, and I think we can do that. So I want people to keep both feet on the ground, stay safe, enjoy your families, and echo everything everybody else said. Mask up, wash your hands, sanitize, maintain your physical distance, and be mindful when you go back home. If you have been out, it's possible that even if you've done your best, you might be bringing this virus home to an elderly loved one or a more vulnerable loved one. So please protect yourself and protect others, because we need everybody in this fight.
Right, and I think you awakened a spirit in Minister Vick, Professor Vick. I want to give you a couple words, and then we'll go back to learn about the post-holiday testing one more time, because we're going to keep hammering away at the thing to be done. We need to get this done. We need to continuously get tested. And also we need to be able to make sure that we engage our communities in a positive way and be respectful in our engagements. But Mr. Vick, go ahead. Mr. Vick.
Yes, Mayor. I would just like to reiterate what both doctors have just said. I couldn't have put it better. But I'll look at this once again from a theological standpoint. I think sometimes we quickly pass by the statement of the Imago Dei. If we truly believe what we say we believe in, insofar as the gospel is concerned, then what does relationship look like? How does it function? If we truly believe that human beings were made, and particularly Black people were made in the image and the likeness of God in an environment which is adverse to the living of Black life, right? Then how does that play itself out? If we truly value who we are, even though there are external forces that don't truly value Black life, if we do value Black life, then what does that look like? What does community look like? What does relationship look like? What does friendship look like, right? What does marriage look like? What do our lived experiences look like if we truly embrace who God has made us to be? So I can't even go beyond that, Mayor, but you're right. The doctors are stirring up the gift this morning.
Right, I got you on that. But post-holiday testing, State Representative Cynthia Neely, once again, please can you give us the dates, times, and also the message that you and the governor are putting out through the full state of Michigan?
Yes, again, the free COVID testing, again, is at Shiloh Missionary Baptist Church, July 9th and the 10th. And then the Word of Life, July 17th and the 18th. So please come out and get the free testing done. And again, I just want to thank Dr. Fairholden with her help with me and the governor with the Mask Up campaign. And we appreciate the mask that you guys got for us also. So everyone, please enjoy your 4th of July weekend.
All right. And with the executive orders coming down from Governor Gretchen Whitmer saying that right now, as we see the uptick in the state of Michigan through the COVID virus, there are not to be any more than 100 in an outdoor gathering. And Chief, can you speak to that? And it is a matter of law that was issued by an executive order by the state of Michigan. And we're left with the challenge of trying to administer the rule. And we're doing the very best that we can making sure that we're allowing people to celebrate this 4th of July. Chief?
Yes, sir. You're exactly right. The executive order is actually rule of law. And what we're looking to do is, again, as you said, make sure that everyone can celebrate happily and safely. But we are asking that everyone observe the 100-person limit. They maintain the social distancing. And we are around. We're watching. We can help to make sure we maintain those because, again, we don't want to take away anyone's fun. We just want to make sure that everyone is safe through the holiday.
Absolutely. And we say praise is an act of the actions that we conduct. And so let's love our community more. Let's love one another more. Let's do everything to keep everyone safe. And I want to speak. I want to mimic Dr. Reynolds here, even though he's here. So I want him to say, wash your hands. I want him to say, maintain social distancing. Wear your mask. Did I miss anything, Dr. Reynolds, as I tried to emulate some of the things that you would say?
You got to avoid large crowds and think before you act. And let's walk together, children. Don't get weary.
Don't get weary. And don't smoke. Don't forget that, Dr. Reynolds. And vape.
If you smoke or vape, to quit. If you drink, now is the time to cut it down or cut it out, because all these things contribute to shortening your life, to making you more to any infection or condition, including COVID-19 disease.
Right. And Dr. Reynolds, I want to thank you for your guidance and your leadership. You've been with the city of Flint for the better part of about 3 months now in your advisory capacity as our health professional that was recruited. And you've been guiding us and giving us really sound advice. We have done a fabulous job here in the city of Flint. We have saved lives, no doubt about it. And it's through our partnerships in our public safety and our health community. We have made the very difficult decisions every day, and we have saved lives. I have no doubt about that, and we want to continue to preserve life in this community. Some of these things can feel a little bit uncomfortable as we go through uncharted territory. This is territory that none of us had to navigate before. But I want to say through our proactive activity, through our unity building and bringing pieces together, we have done a really marvelous job, and we have saved lives. Dr. Ferholden, Dr. Reynolds, State Representative Cynthia Neely, Chief Phil Hart, Minister Vick, weekly we have come here to talk about serious issues, and we want to make sure that this is being digested by the body of this community to make sure that we continue to save lives. I've said it before and I'll say it again. There's one deficit that you can never overcome, and that's a death deficit. So this 4th of July weekend, we know we want to celebrate the birth of this country, but the birth of a country is about bringing life. Let's not do anything that will cause us death. And so with that said, I will give it to Minister Vick to say a prayer over our community, because I am a strong faith believer, and I don't want to offend Indy, but definitely I always want to observe what I practice. And so, Minister Vick.
Absolutely. Eternal God, we thank you for this time of sharing together. We thank you for your Son and our Redeemer. We thank you for the gift of life. We thank you for family, friends, and community. We pray, oh God, that we would honor you through the very living of our lives, so that our lived lives would be a sweet fragrance in your nostrils. Now may the grace of God and the sweet communion of the Holy Spirit rest, rule, and abide with each and every one of us, now, henceforth, and forevermore. Amen.
Amen. And State Representative Cynthia Neely, once again with the post-testing date that you and Governor Gretchen Whitmer have partnered again, along with the National Guard and other health professionals. Please give that date one more time and the locations.
Not a problem. Shiloh Missionary Baptist Church, July 9th and 10th. Word of Life, July 17th and 18th.
Okay. And also, I want to thank you for your Mask Up campaign. You, Dr. Ferholden, Governor Gretchen Whitmer, making wearing a mask look good. You guys are doing it well. And please remember, I know it's uncomfortable sometimes, especially in this weather, but follow the advice of your state representative, Cynthia Neely, and mask up to preserve life here in this community. And State Representative, are you providing masks anywhere today? Or are you going to be going out?
We will be out and about in the public, and if you need a mask and you see us, just come up and I will have a mask for you. Not a problem. We are definitely giving out masks today.
Absolutely. All right, guys, with that, God bless you all. I love you, Mom. Thank you, guys. Have a wonderful, wonderful 4th of July weekend. God bless and be safe.
Thank you.